Tina's first words to us, looking right at us, was, "There's a book, there's a movie, now there's a musical. What the hell are you going to make a documentary about?"
Look what I have done in this lifetime with this body. I'm a girl from a cotton field that pulls myself above what was not taught to me.
From conception to finish, Tina took 2.5 years.
Probably had around 2,500 hours of footage, including like audio tapes.
It couldn't have been more than 9 or 10 interviews. We keep it very small. So it's us, it's our DP, it's a gaffer and a swing and sound. So I think on our total crew when we're doing an interview is anywhere from 4 to 5 people.
We shot on an Alexa Mini. Boom.
Nice. And a Canon C300, I think.
Alexa Mini sounds way cooler than C300.
The fantastic Ike and Tina Turner review.
Why Tina Turner? Why this film at this point in both your careers?
You know, TJ and I've been approached in the past to do various films on kind of iconic people or celebrities or even just music documentaries. And we've always passed on them because specifically when it comes to music docs, oftentimes, at least in our opinion, a lot of times it's like a music catalog in search of a story. And as filmmakers, we want to make films that are experiential and that feel cinematic and big. And so Tina's, story is unique in that way, that it's big in scope and emotion. And so it just appealed to us. And early on, understanding that she had a very complicated relationship to that kind of public story is really what hooked us as filmmakers.
We're also just not sure that 2 men were right to helm, to like be the conduit for her voice. But once we kind of dove in and then got a chance to meet her, it lent itself more towards figuring out a way to humanize this individual who had become an icon for all these wonderful reasons. But during that process, I think the public lost sight of the person at the center of it all. The notion of her being a heroine and put on a pedestal as someone who's just resilient to everything kind of calcified. And as a result, it dehumanized her, I think, in many ways. In thinking like that, the story became more and more intriguing for us to be able to literally just be a conduit to tell Tina's story as much as possible through Tina's voice.
I had an abusive life. There's no other way to tell the story. Buddhism was a way out. I started really seeing that I had to make a change.
You guys have won an Oscar for Undefeated, an Emmy for LA 92. Where does this sit for you? What is the most personal thing you'll take away from this experience?
I'll say for myself, this was an extremely challenging film to make. And I think in some ways we probably entered it thinking it was going to be a little easier for some reason. Like, we're not going to try to excavate something, or we're not going and filming like a bunch of footage to try and find a story. And then on top of it, honestly, like the experience of the world that was happening around us. I mean, part of our process is at a certain point is to start showing it with a group of people to get a sense of how it plays. And so this was just this really odd experience for us. When we finished it, it just kind of went off, and we're like, I have no idea if this makes any sense, if it's good.
That thing went out to the world. It was just like, felt like raw meat. Just like, I hope people appreciate this. It all kind of started falling into, like, coming together for me probably in our very first panel that we did when Tina was coming out. But it was actually we did a panel for the musical. The moderator afterwards said something to the effect of like, well, how does it feel to be a part of the legacy of telling Tina's story? And so it was the first time it dawned on us that, that if someone was making a film with that same approach 10 years from now, we would be cast as participants in those trying to tell the Tina Turner story. But at the end of the day, Tina's doing most of the heavy lifting. She lived the life. She created that persona.
And then we tried to get a record deal. Nobody would touch Tina Turner.
She'd play anywhere just to make the money to get by.
My dream is to be the first Black rock and roll singer to pack places like the Stones.
Can you talk about all the media clips you have of her and some of those interviews that are cringeworthy and how they played into the story you were constructing?
First of all, those are just like the taste of the amount of stuff that we found, including like extremely sexist questions that you would get. That was an idea that we knew early on we wanted to get into. But I would say for us, the media was also a stand-in just for society in general, more like fans and us as a public's obsession with that part of her story. People go to what is provocative, really for the sake of being provocative, right? And that has gotten even worse in the times that we live in now, where it's like kind of clickbait and stuff like that. So it felt very relevant, but it's all tied to the fact that when we first sat down and talked to Tina, we learned how traumatic those interviews could be for her. And when we were just, in those initial conversations we had with her, she revealed to us that just talking about that time of her life with Ike can bring back the memories of that time to her, oftentimes in dreams that feel as real as the first time it was happening. And so, we wanted to, in some way, be able to kind of create a sequence where the audience could experience that in some sort of way, the way that Tina experiences it.
It's hard. One of the worst parts of your life has been an inspiration.
What does the other person bring to the filmmaking table that you don't have? What is their strength that they can do that you just can't? This is why you guys work so well together.
I can say right away, there's just like tangible skills. Like TJ as an editor, he's like an artist and approaches it like an artist. Luckily, we have the same taste, or I don't even know what it is, with the sensibility, like, and we kind of want the same thing, and he can actually do it. If our films were cut by me only, they would not be very good.
Probably the primary thing that makes it work is just fundamental trust. If we weren't working together, Dan would still be the first person I would show any of my work before it goes out, because I trust his sensibilities. I trust he's not going to pander towards me. He's going to actually tell me honestly, even though how painful it is sometimes to show him edits. We have the same sensibilities, but our point of views are there to challenge each other's sensibilities to make the better piece. But in a very practical sense, I don't know if I have the attention span that Dan has. He'll be like, oh, we need to read this book and do R&D and just like come up with a take. And it'll be read within like 24 hours, where it takes me like 2 weeks. Like I kind of swim in it, and I'm not I'm a slow reader. But that level of efficiency is, I think, what keeps the ship afloat, to be honest.
And I'm here for you.